streamers, are you excited to get to know how to grow your influence using live video so that you can grow your audience and brand partnerships can help you grow your revenue? Money, money, money! So it's not all about money, but it is about growing that influence using live video so that you can work with brands. Today, we're going to talk about how live video actually grows your influence so the brands actually want to work with you, right? You got to have influence in order to work with brands, because why else would they want to work with you? We're also going to talk about why brands are embracing live video specifically, what brands look for in brand ambassadors and partnerships, and then also how to get in front of key decision makers. These are the questions that you guys ask me so very often. I do it for myself and my own business, but I also have a very special guest today. Stephanie Liu is going to be joining us, and she is freaking awesome. You saw during the countdown timer, if you were watching live, you saw how personality-based she is. She is willing to dance away and have a lot of fun, and that is part of the key to success, which we can dive into in this episode. So Stephanie Liu is a social media strategist with over 10 years in the marketing industry. She has a brand new book, The Ultimate Guide to Social Media Marketing, that she co-wrote, and it helps you create focused social media campaigns that are tailored to your business. And she is going to be joining us to talk about all of this and more. And I just want to say, you are in for a special treat with Stephanie. So you guys, if you're new, in the comments, I want you to type new in the comments so that I can meet you, so we can say hi to you, because I love, love, love meeting new people. And if you are new, guess what? You don't know me. Well, hello. I'm Luria Petrucci from Live Streaming Pros, where we help you create professional live video that is uniquely you. And this show is the show I do in partnership with ECAMM Live. It is my favorite Mac streaming software. It's amazing. It's intuitive. You can do so much with it. So many professional streams are done with ECAMM Live. So let's get down to business. All right, are you ready to give my special guest a special shout out? Real quick, I see Rufus the Red isn't new. John used to be new. We were all new at one point, weren't we? So thank you so much for all of our newbies in the house. Please do participate and join in on the conversation. Stephanie, welcome, welcome.
Oh my God. Hi everyone.
You have been, what are you pointing at?
It's Luria. Oh my God, it's Luria.
You're
Talk
funny.
about live streaming legends.
Oh,
Every
please.
time I see Luria at conferences, I'm like,
Okay, I'm gonna tell this story. She was so excited to meet me one time. I was like, are you okay? I was like, are you okay? Like, is everything okay?
oh no, I'll tell this story because we were at an event. It was like the first social media marketing world that I was going to speak at, and then Luria and I locked eyes from across the room. I was like, oh my God,
It was love at first sight.
does she know who I am? And I was like, hi, I'm Stephanie. She's like, I know who you are. I was like, heart stop.
You are a legend in your own right. So what I love about this space in live video is that we all collaborate. You know, Stephanie teaches live video as well, and she helps you with your live video through Lights Camera Live, her brand. And it is amazing to collaborate and work with our friends in the industry. And I think I want to really point that out as we go into this discussion, right? Collaborations is the name of the game, and that ties directly into brand partnerships and being a brand ambassador. Like, you and I are both brand ambassadors for ECAMM Live.
Yes.
Right?
Yes, when you said like your favorite, I was like, mine too. Oh my gosh. ECAMM has definitely paved the way, you know, with everything that we're going to talk about today. For those of you that are ECAMM users, like, let me tell you, ECAMM puts you head and shoulders above what everyone else is producing if you have that creativity, if you have that imagination. Not only that, though, but you have this amazing community, right? LSP fam, where you at? Right?
Yes.
And they support you all throughout your entire journey. So you guys are in for a lot of fun.
Yes, for sure. And I love this. So, speaking of your new book, David just got the book. Tell me about the book before we get into all of this whole conversation, real quick.
Oh yeah, the book is the Ultimate Guide to Social Media Marketing. It's actually published by Entrepreneur. Yes, entrepreneur.com. That was like insane. It's great. We talk everything about why brands, entrepreneurs, small business owners need to develop a social media strategy, and then how to integrate that across different social media platforms and deciding which one's really the best for you to build your brand and your bottom line. So it's all there. It's not only just me, it's Mike Alton, the blogging king, Jen Herman, who is like the grandmaster of Instagram. Then you have Amanda Robinson, who knows everything about messenger chat marketing, as well as Eric Buto, who is fantastic when it comes to social.
Yes, I love all of that. I cannot wait. If you guys want her book, you can follow that link that's right under her name right there. Right there.
Right there. Nicely done. Look at that.
Yeah. And I love the fact that you're helping them tailor it to your business. So many people teach social media strategies, and it's like, here's everything. Go figure it out.
They're like, you have to be everywhere. And it's like,
yeah.
No. Yeah.
Yeah. So let's talk about live video and how we are building our influence through live video. When you're talking about building influence through live video, obviously there's definitely, you're by going live regularly, by building an audience, you're growing your influence. What does live video specifically have to do with creating a brand partnership or being a brand ambassador?
Oh, absolutely. It's the fact that brands specifically are looking for content creators that are key opinion leaders about their space, and that they have the confidence to create content not only in one medium, but multiple ways. And let me tell you, live streamers are the ones that know how to take their live videos and spread it across the internet like digital confetti. That's what I love about live streamers, is that we'll take that live video, we'll make it into 1-minute social media videos, Instagram stories, behind the scenes, blog content, podcasts. This is an important opportunity where marketers, agencies, and brands want to work with content creators that know how to push content out there. The difference between a live streamer and, let's say, an influencer on one channel only, like let's say Instagram, is that that's only where that audience lives, on Instagram. Whereas when you're a live streamer, your content is everywhere. And so when they Google your name, they know exactly who you are, what you stand for, and you have that social proof that's all across these established platforms that makes you, an authority.
Yes. And so when we are talking about brand ambassadors and brand partnerships, just make sure that everybody is on the same page. What exactly does that mean? Does that look like? Why is it important? And does everybody need to do it?
Not everyone needs to do it. It's one of those things where when you're a content creator, when you're a live streamer, if you're looking to make additional revenue streams, which most successful live streamers and content creators have multiple revenue streams, not only from their shows, but from merch, affiliates, and all that other stuff. A brand partnership can look a variety of ways. They could sponsor your show, right? Like, shout out to ECAMM because they're absolutely amazing, right? They could sponsor your show, or you can create content specifically for them that lives on their platforms themselves. I've actually had a couple of big brand agencies in the beauty industry where they're like, we work with these fashion brands, but we need to teach them how to do live video. And because you know live video, can you create our in-house course platforms, our courses that we could then send out and distribute to our clients that are like the bigger brand agencies. So there are lots of ways that you could do that. And Luria, you know this best, is that, Elgato, for example, they could send you product. You're going to write reviews for it, and you're going to share your opinion on, does it actually work for you and your audience, or does it not? Yeah. So there's lots of things that you can do.
Yes, there are lots of things and different routes that you can take. And one of the main things that I'm always telling our students and viewers is, you have to make sure that it's a right relationship. Like, so many people want to just go like get all of the partnerships and be a brand ambassador for everybody. But is it really the right fit for your audience? Are there questions that you use? Are there guidelines that you use for yourself in terms of determining who the right audience or the right brands are?
Yeah, that's a great question. What I generally find is that if you know what your core values and principles are, then you know what you're passionate about. And when you know what you're passionate about, then you know what your purpose is in life, and especially with the content that you create. And so usually when brands approach Lights, Camera, Live, it's a matter of like, well, what do you stand for? Like, who do you serve? How is it like to work with you, right? Like, one of the things that I have, and I'm going to want you guys to write this down.
Yes.
But
activity.
Activity. Here's the first sign of a bad brand relationship is when you send over your proposal and you have the late payment terms. You guys know what I'm talking about. And then the client goes, oh no, we're just going to delete that. And then coming from an agency experience, you want to have that in your proposal, in your contracts, because most agencies, most brands will likely pay like the bigger expenses first, and then the content creators might be lower on the totem pole. And so for them, they're just like, well, there's not a late payment fee, so we could just pay that person later. That is a big no-no. That's a big red flag for me.
Yeah.
For sure, you definitely want to have a contract where it's in your domain, right? Like, for example, I had a contract here in the US, but this brand that wanted to work with me wanted to take it outside of the US, out of our jurisdiction. And so if I needed to dispute anything or come back and talk about expenses, whatever that is, my lawyer doesn't know what's happening on planet, what other planet that they're on. Like, we know what's happening in the US. So those are a couple of red flags to be mindful of. Don't be lured by like the money all the time. Like, get down to the details for sure.
I literally just turned down a partnership that was good money. Like, let's say it as it is, right? It was good money, but it was not the right fit. So, But here's the nice thing about that is that I was able to still keep that relationship and adjust it to my needs for my audience. And I am always, always, always looking out for the audience themselves. Like, at the end of the day, it hurts me and my revenue long term. You have to play the long term game, guys.
Yes.
If I just take the money and don't care about the audience, because you guys, when we're being fake, and when we're doing things that don't suit you. And so that's a very important thing to pay attention to. Like, Stephanie, I love how you said, just like, don't get caught up in the money.
Yeah. Well, let me add something to that. Yeah, don't get caught up in the face value of the money, because there might be some PETA brands, which stands for pain in the, right? And you might be thinking like, wow, this is the best sponsorship deal out there. But then now they feel as if like, oh, I could just call Luria at like 1 a.m. in the morning. I could text her. I own her, right? And it's like, no.
They can honestly feel like they own you. It is absolutely a thing that happens. I will agree with that.
We're like,
Yeah, I'm thinking of some names. No. None recently,
we all have a
way.
blacklist. Yeah. That's the funny thing too, is that we all kind of have a blacklist, and we might like, in the private world, dark social media, I'll hit up Lori like, hey, have you ever worked with like, don't.
Yeah, we share that info amongst ourselves for sure. Okay, so let's talk about on the brand side. What do they care about? Why are they focused on live video streamers, and why they want to hire streamers?
Yeah. Okay, so this is an interesting thing, because most people don't know this, but I come from an ad agency background. So as Luria said in the very beginning, about like over a decade deep in the trenches of agency life. And that means I've actually been on the brand side, searching and looking for influencers. And one of the things that we're talking about now with our clients is really you should work with influencers, especially micro influencers, because they're able to cultivate.
Hold on.
Ooh.
I want you to keep going down that path, but micro influencers, explain that word.
Yeah. So micro influencers are usually the ones where they don't have like Kim Kardashian numbers, right? Any of those, none of that.
We
But
had
like,
to pull her in here.
I know, sorry. But that was like the best, that's like the best example, because some
Yeah.
people think that they need to have that big of a following. But let me tell you, you have like 1,000 subscribers or, 5,000 people on your email list, and it's very, very niche. That's an opportunity that brands are looking for. So you don't need to have like these big, huge numbers. You could have total audience across all platforms, including your email, including your website visitors, your views, let's say 10K, right? Just round that up. That's a good opportunity to work with brands because they're looking for folks that know how to cultivate, grow a group, and have this, because when you're in a group, right, Luria, you have a long-term relationship with people. It's not a one-time flash in the pan. It's like you remember when Luria took you by the hand and helped you launch your show, or when she helped you figure out like your gear, right? You have this strong affinity towards her now where it's like if she's going to recommend like a new lighting setup or new gear, you're like, okay, I'm listening. I'm listening.
Literally yesterday, I totally went off on a tangent during my stream. Can't not admit it there. But we started talking about food because who doesn't like food? And
Who doesn't?
I mean, right? And I got a delivery while I was live of some prepared meals that I usually eat. And then we started talking about those and I was recommending them. And the people were like, oh, I want to buy that. Hint to what Stephanie is talking about, right? Like they care what I care about in my regular life beyond what I teach. So
Yeah.
there are avenues there as well if it's something lifestyle-wise that can fit within your brand.
Absolutely. Yeah, brands are definitely looking to expand that. I can tell you how many conversations that I've been in, Luria, where we are now planning for 2021 marketing budget. Where are we shifting our funds to? Because those in-person events that we used to do, not going to happen. Those conferences, those in-person conferences that we used to sponsor, not going to happen.
Yeah.
Where are you now putting that money towards? Oh, Luria has a show that's consistent and oh my goodness, is that 226 live people that I see right now? Oh my gosh, right?
Yeah.
That's an opportunity where they're like, that's real engagement and that's real conversations because not only are you getting quantitative numbers, but qualitative comments that they could then research, use in their ad copy. There's just so much.
Yes. And speaking of engagement and comments, you need to be prepared. So if I look around at my what people would call competition, right? Or even bigger picture, other creators out there. When I'm working with a brand, I'm not just like, hey, we have this many viewers. Because at the end of the day, it doesn't do anybody any good if they're just viewers. And so what Stephanie was talking about was engagement. And I always like to think about the engagement ratio and point that out to my potential brand partnerships because they care that there is an engaged audience. You were talking about being niche, right?
Yeah.
And the more niche you are, the more engaged your audience is going to be. You want to speak to that a little bit?
Absolutely. Because it's one of those things where if someone just talks about live streaming in general, that's nice. That's usually nice for like starters. But if you are in churches or worshiping services, if you have someone that you can speak to and ask for advice about that type of gear, that's always going to be very helpful. Or if you are the type of person where you're doing remote live video production for brands, corporations, virtual events, there's someone that you want to talk to specifically about that. And it may even niche down into what do you put in your contracts? How do you hire, contractors? What are you allowed to do as far as repurposing content? How do you put together your portfolio? There are different niches that you can go down. And that's an opportunity for you to really like put your stake in the ground. Like, I own this. I know this.
Yeah, for sure. So let's talk. We've kind of talked about it, but let's put it into some hardcore strategy talk in terms of what brands are looking for in their ambassadors. I mean, we've talked about the niche, we've talked about the engagement. What else do people need to, creators need to focus on presenting to brands so that they're approaching them in the right place or the right mindset? And then, of course, guys, coming up, the big question that you always ask is, how do you approach the right people inside of the brand? But that's coming up. So let's talk about what they're looking for first.
What they're looking for. So if you think about it from a brand perspective, if you put yourself in their shoes, they need to back up their claim for why they need to support you. And so that's where it's helpful, very, very helpful, to have a media kit. If you don't know what a media kit, it's something that tells...
So much work, Stephanie. So much work. Come on.
If you want it, you work for it. So here's the thing. So a media kit lets a brand know what your channel, what your show is about, who you are, what your bio is. Then you dive into the demographics of your audience, male, female, what countries, what languages, which channels perform the best for you. It's also very helpful to know which brands you've already worked with. Then if you've already worked with brands, right, some testimonials from them saying like, oh my gosh, I absolutely loved working with her. She was so much fun. The process was seamless, because that's what agencies and that's what brands want. They want someone that they could collaborate with, not someone that's like, no, we don't do that. Nope, can't do that, right? We're not going to work with your deadlines. They want someone that they could work with to justify that cost. And for you, you're really trying to win your spot in that planning, that budget planning meeting that usually happens in Q4, which is basically like right now.
Yeah. Sorry, I got distracted. Did you hear the, did you hear the ringtone? I forgot to put us in Do Not Disturb. Oh, okay, good. Okay, so you're talking about putting that media kit in place. That does feel like a heavy job. Is it simple enough to do? Like, can it be
simple.
A one-pager?
Yeah, a one-pager is great. And honestly, you could go anywhere like creativekit.com. You could find a template there. If you use sites like easel.com, which is basically like Photoshop
like
online.
Yeah,
they already have templates for you.
Yeah.
You just plug in the numbers, put in your branding, and you're good to go. And the reason why that's so important, is because brands want someone that they could actually work with that is organized. They want to know that you're actually a business. You're not some ho-hum hobbyist, right? Where they're like, are they going to give it to me in time? Mm-hmm. You know, there are times when I was on the brand side that I worked with an influencer and I'm like, what is this? No. Walk me through your whole entire workflow process, because this is just the draft, right? This isn't your final, because I really wanted to, have input into that, right?
Yeah.
Right? So when you're organized like that, when you have a media kit, when you're able to describe what your workflow process is, what your timelines are, that sets you like head and shoulders above any other content creator. Other ones, it's like, I mean, there are those of us when we first started out, we're like, oh my gosh, you're going to pay me like $100 an hour? Let's so, we're like, I'm on top of the world.
Yeah. The first time I made money at that, I was like, whoa, what?
Yeah. And you're like, oh my gosh, I now make like 10 times more than that, right? It's just because you're organized and you're a business. That's the thing that separates the amateurs from the elites. Yes. Is that when you have all your ducks in order, you are good to go. So have that media kit, know who your audience is, have some analytics too. I know this is kind of like super geeky, but knowing like what your cycle is, of like, hey, you know what? Usually my viewership spikes in the first half of the year because Stephanie is on a whole entire conference circuit. So if you want to sponsor a show then, that's a different price point from when Stephanie, is out at Comic-Con during the summer in San Diego and at the beaches where she rarely goes live, right?
Yeah.
There's a cycle to it.
Yeah. So what kinds of things should we be recommending that we do and that we are putting into this contract? Obviously, we've been talking about live video, and you mentioned at the beginning of this, like you could do a live video on your own show that is sponsored by. You could do something like what I do with ECAMM, right? Where I'm actually on their channels and my channel simultaneously. I'm creating content for them on their channel. What else should we do, both in the realm of live video and outside of live video, so that it's a complete package, not just a single part of social media?
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. See, that's the funny thing. And this is why I love geeking out with Lori. I'm like, oh yeah, I love you.
Wait, hold on. You looked at nothing. Look over here. There we go. Wait, I looked the wrong way.
Someone just said ducks are crucial. Yes, ducks are crucial. This is really a different mindset, right? I feel like most content creators, when they're first starting out, they're just thinking about like, oh, they're going to sponsor a show. And then when you talk to more advanced veterans, legends like Loria, it's like, well, you have to think about the whole entire process that you put into producing a show. The amount of time that it takes for you to create the graphics, to create the copy, to do the pre-promotion, to actually run the show. And then the cherry on top, especially when you're working a brand, is how are you going to repurpose that content? Are you taking that content and optimizing it across your channels? Are you creating it into a blog post, social media tweets, or social media posts that run on forever? Like I have a publishing queue with Agora Pulse that just goes on forever and keeps driving traffic to content that was published maybe like a year or two ago, but is still relevant and still driving affiliate revenue, right? Yeah. So there are different ways that you can package this. This is where I usually tell content creators, you could have the ho-hum basic. It's just, you're going to sponsor a show, right? Like we're just going to give you a shout out. That's what it's going to be. Mm-hmm. And then your middle package is going to be, hey, we'll do a show and we'll do a blog post. And then after that, it'd be like, well, why stop there? Because you've already seen the magic. Let's now create a series. Let's create an entire show, like a segment. So you're starting to think in seasons of what's going to happen. Other creative things that I've seen people do is co-branding on virtual summits. Like, you guys, those in-person events, not going to happen. And so if they could leverage your influence, right, and create a virtual summit, that's another opportunity. Loria has already mentioned like creating content on their channels, because let's be honest, some social media people only know how to create social media content, but not video. And you do, you do. And we know that video is going to drive up that engagement, especially live video.
So I love that. So as you're talking about all of the different things that you can do, the repurposing, so much good stuff right there. And you do have to be cautious. Like, you can't do it all, like she was saying, right? So take it slow and just be aware of what you can deliver, because you want to over deliver, not under deliver, right? Correct. So you don't want to get caught in that bad cycle of like, I promised the moon and I can't deliver on it. So Stephanie, in terms of all of the different social media aspects and repurposing, that's part of what you cover in your book, is it not?
Absolutely. Yeah. We talk a lot about how to create that digital confetti and spreading it across the internet. But what I would say most importantly too is knowing how to build your team. Yes. Right? Because, right, you could be a victim of busyness, or you can run a business, right?
Gold. Say that again.
You could be caught up in busyness or have a business. Like, think about that. You are the CEO of your show. You own the copyright. You are the brand in and of itself. Should you be doing the transcript editing? Should you be doing the blog post? Do what you do best and hire out the rest. That's how you scale and that's how you grow. Because I'm going to tell you, Loria is not there taking her, her videos and like, oh, I need to edit this transcript. Oh, they spelled Stephanie Lou wrong. I need to fix. No, she has people for that. Okay, there's people for that.
Wait, which way do I look? Okay, there.
I know. I'm so used to having my guest on this side that I would look at them like, no, Loria's over here.
That is so vital. Such a great mic drop moment right there. I want you all to be paying close attention for sure, as ECAMM has summarized that for sure. So you guys, do what you best. Yes, do what you do best and hire out the rest. So thank you guys for summarizing Stephanie's mic drops there. So let's talk now about how we approach the brands. This is like, you can dream big, you can have all the ideas, but OMG, the approach is the scariest thing ever. So talk us through it, walk us through the simple way to do it.
Yeah. Okay. So one thing that I usually do is I don't usually go into a brand pitch cold. I want them to know who I am already.
Yes.
And I want them to know who I am strategically. So I'm going to tell you something that most people don't listen to because they don't want to hear it. But this is the difference that makes the difference, okay? It's making sure that you're getting your best content and you're getting it in front of key decision makers. Stephanie, how do I do that? This is what I did. And Luria, I swear I only spent like $10 a day. But so this is a paid media strategy. I targeted event organizers, people that planned conferences. I targeted people who had titles of, brand ambassador, partnerships, growth strategy, whatever that is. And I would take my best live stream and I would target those key decision makers. Because here's the thing is that when you're top of mind, you're tip of tongue. Because they're going to be like, oh, Luria, I've seen you before. Like sometimes people will realize like, oh my gosh, I've always seen Luria and now I have this amazing opportunity. And who comes to mind? Luria, because you've seen her and you've seen the social proof. So that's something where you got to have a little skin in the game. Yes, you can do things organically, but if you want to fast track that, start thinking about paid media. This was one of those things where, Luria, I was like, I want to speak at Social Media Marketing World. Who do you think I targeted?
Yeah.
Social Media Marketing World audience, people that were fans of Luria, people that were fans of Mari Smith, video content creators. That's how that audience got to know me.
Yeah. So basically, we run those same ad campaigns. So to break that down into how that works for people, because that's kind of a vague approach. So obviously, we're not going to talk about ads and like give you details on how to run ads because that's a bigger topic. But talk about how that works.
Talk about how
in front of us. Yeah, how you run an ad to connect with those people.
Oh, yeah. Okay. So Facebook, it's relatively easy. If you don't want to get like too deep into the weeds, you just create an audience of people that are interested in whatever your niche is. And then you can put down like what their job titles are, especially on LinkedIn. I feel like some people kind of poo-poo on the idea of LinkedIn, but LinkedIn is like the place, right, Luria, where you can target people by specific titles and how large their companies are. Here's the thing. This is another mic drop, okay?
Okay.
If a brand comes to me and they're like, I'm the CEO of company and it's a company of one, that probably has a very, very different budget of I am the CEO of said company and I have 5,000 employees and I want you to be a part of our marketing team. That to me says, hey, you have a marketing budget, right?
Yeah.
So when you're developing these ads, think about who you're partnering with, right? I think Luria and we have like a different mindset of who we want to partner with. Like it's probably going to be established brands. I've had someone who's like, hey, we're just starting out. Would you want to work together? And it's like, that's cute and all, but no hard feelings, right?
Right.
No hard feelings, but there are so many hours in the day, right? I was just telling Luria, like between my daughter having to do distance learning, the retainer clients that I have, I'm very picky about the partnerships that I have to do.
Yeah.
And so if I'm able to get like my best video in front of someone that signs the checks, you sure
you're gonna do that.
Sure as hell that I'm gonna do that. Yeah. So we've talked a little bit about ads, but I would say other ways that you can do this is, and I'm gonna go back to LinkedIn too. I had this viral post, Laura, you might have seen it, but I had did like a behind the scenes photo of my studio. And it had like Elgato everything. Elgato key lights, Stream Deck. ECAMM even donated like a green screen to me because they didn't want to like take it back home from Social Media Marketing World. But here's the thing is that like when COVID had happened, everyone was like, I want to know how to level up my video and all this stuff. And so people commented on it and blah, blah, blah. The funny thing is that when you look at your post on LinkedIn, you start to see the companies that people work at that are looking at it. And I kept seeing Corsair. And I was like, Corsair, isn't that like a hairdryer? I was like, oh wait, that's Con Air, right? But it was Corsair, and then Elgato had reached out. And that's how you warm yourself up to that audience, is that once I saw that particular brand engaging with my post, what did I do? I went to their LinkedIn company page, because how many people engage with the LinkedIn company page? Not a lot of people. So the social media person's like, oh my God, in my weekly report, there's a Stephanie Liu that's engaging with us on LinkedIn. It's like, who is she? And so that warmed me up to that particular key decision maker. And then ever since then, it's been a matter of like, hey, we're releasing something. Can we send it over to you? I'm like, why, yes, you can. Oh, God.
Why, yes, sure, why not?
Well, yes, sure. Why not? And I'm sure the same thing happens to you, right? Because you're talking about brands, you're doing reviews, and they know who you are, right? And when you're tagging them in your content, you're now in that awareness.
Yeah. And even if you're lazy like me, then they can still find you over time, you know.
Exactly. Yeah, that's the funny thing too, is that I make the joke that I'm like the lazy marketer.
Yeah.
If I can take one live video and turn it into 98 pieces of content and then schedule it out every Monday for the next 98 Mondays, you sure as heck bet I'm going to do that. I'm not trying to create like a new video every single day. I don't know.
Okay, so once you find the people and connect with the right people, how much do you ask for? What do you say to them? How do you approach? Like, do you email them? Do you just message them on LinkedIn or wherever you're talking to them?
So this is like, God, you're asking the good questions. I hope you guys are ready.
It's
No, don't
question.
be sorry.
The money
I love
thing
these
is
questions.
the hardest question for people.
Yeah, this is such a good question, because some people will go in with like the cold pitch, right? But just because they've actually engaged with your content doesn't really know if they've matched of like, I've seen her on camera. Is this who she really is? Right?
Yes.
That's where you want to develop a relationship and say like, hey, I just want to reach out and say that I absolutely love your product. You guys are doing amazing. Right? I think I even did this with ECAMM. I was like, I absolutely freaking love ECAMM. I jumped from OBS, which is like the IKEA of live streaming, and I went over to ECAMM. And then you could share your content with them. And I was like, I would love your thoughts on this content, this video. And if it's like your best content, they'd be like, oh, wow, what is that? And I think it's kind of like a foot in the door invitation of like, oh, you're a content creator. You could do this for us and I could do this for you. So I usually start my stuff off in the DMs, right? In the direct messages. And again, my approach is LinkedIn, which is really funny because I'm a Facebook live streamer. But I do it on LinkedIn because LinkedIn is the professional network where it's more B2B and they could see who I'm connected with, right? So if they know like, oh, Stephanie knows Luria, or Stephanie knows this person, like she's in that authority, in that specific niche, then I should definitely work with this person. So DMs are usually where it goes. And then from there, schedule it, right? Like, oh, you want to talk some more? Schedule it. Right? Don't hide behind email like, oh, I will attach a file for you. No. Like, get on Zoom, whatever it is. Because if it's not scheduled, it's not real. Right? If you're just talking about it, it's an idea, which is nice, but when you schedule it, that's reality. So get that phone call.
Do not be, just to add to that, she's saying schedule it, but I want to just go deeper with that. Do not be afraid to put yourself out there. That's so many people are like, well, maybe, do not do that. You need to be not aggressive, assertive. That's the word I was looking for. Be aggressive. Be aggressive. Be assertive, and make sure that you are putting yourself out there and making them see you in terms of getting them to book that call. There's not a single brand partnership that I've ever had that didn't start with, or not start with, but have a conversation on a call or video chat of some kind. It never has happened just purely through email.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Like, I have attached my media kit. Thank you. No!
Yes. No. Oh my gosh.
No. So
they'll never look at it.
Yeah, they'll never look at it, no matter how pretty it is or whatever font you have.
Yeah.
So when you have that call, and I think this is another thing that most content creators don't have, but coming from the agency background has always been an advantage, is knowing how to pitch, right? Knowing how to communicate. And that means going into the meeting having a desired outcome. So I bet you 10 out of 10, Loria, when she's going to hop on a call, she already has a desired outcome of what she wants to accomplish. It's either package A, B, or C.
Right.
If I walk away from this with package B, that's cool. But there is a goal that she automatically has in mind of how she's going to navigate that conversation. And I say this because most people don't level up their communication skills. They think that, okay, this meeting is booked. The brand person will just know how to navigate it.
Yes.
That's probably very true, but also know
Yeah.
that the brand and the agency also has a procurement team that is going to nickel and dime you.
Oh, yeah.
So when you know what your value is, right? Know your value and add tax. Write that down. Know your value and add tax. Okay? I like get closer to the camera when I'm like,
I love
this
it.
is real.
I usually go to you full screen. Do it.
Know your value and add tax. So when you go into this meeting, already have your desired outcome, have your media kit. And not only that, Loria will also tell you this as well, is know what your packages are. What can you actually offer? What case studies have you done? What testimonials have you done? Don't be too cocky with like, oh, I've worked with NASA. Don't be like name drop left and right.
Right.
But if it aligns with the brand, right? We talked about that, right, Loria?
Yeah.
We talked about that. If you're like, oh, you're in this particular niche, I know about that. I've done this and yada yada. Then it makes magic. I'm like looking at the comments because you're like, brrr.
Yeah. By the way, speaking of comments, thank you so much, Eileen and John and Dice's Plays and Sammy and Sandy for all of the super chats. You guys are fantastic. You all are saying that you're learning a ton and that you are loving Stephanie. I'm reading into that, but I know that that's what you mean. Put I love Stephanie in the comments if you're really enjoying this conversation. We do have some questions. If you have a question, put a Q in front of that question so that we can tackle that here in a minute. And this is such an important, part of the conversation is that conversation with the brand themselves. I don't know about you, Stephanie, but I always start off with my main question to them in the conversation that we're having like in person or over call. What are you guys looking for? Like what is your brand goals? What are you trying to accomplish? And what do you hope to get out of partnerships that you work with? That kind of thing. Like so that they see that you're out for them, not just you.
Yeah, what are their expectations, right? Because if they're like, oh, we want to meet with you weekly at 6 a.m. Eastern time, and I'm on like San Diego, oh, girl, no.
Yeah, no.
No. That is a direct violation of my values and my face. Because like you will never get like the best version of Stephanie at 6 a.m. Eastern. That's 3 a.m.
But even bigger, like, are they trying to grow product sales? Are they trying to grow brand awareness and just name recognition out there? Because each company has a different goal.
Exactly. Is it short term? Is it long term?
Is it long term?
Like
Yeah.
strategic questions that you want to ask is, do you have a project manager? Like, what is your workflow process, right? Because I want to work with a brand that has a very good relationship with accounting.
Good point.
I'm just going to throw that out there, right? Because I've had a brand where they're just like, oh, we would love to work with you on another project. And I was like, homie, you still have an outstanding invoice. We cannot have a conversation until there's proof, right? That you can do it. Like, I did my part, you do your part.
Yeah.
So I think understanding the brand and the personalities, like who your main stakeholder is going to be. Like, I even like to know how long that person that's reaching out to me has been a part of the company. Because let's say, Luria, you're investing so much time in building a relationship with this key stakeholder, right? And they're like, oh, well, I plan on like leaving sometime soon. You're like, wait, what?
Yeah.
That's my revenue.
Revenue,
come back.
Yeah, totally. That actually happened to me recently. It wasn't actually a paid thing yet, but it was going to turn into a paid partnership. And but the person was heading out the door as we were starting our conversation, but they were very intent on making sure that I had another contact. And while that's awesome that they took that initiative, you can also take that initiative and make sure that you stipulate, that you need somebody else to talk to, and start that relationship a month or more before that person ever leaves, if you know that much in advance.
Yes. There are resources in relationships, people. Start building them now.
Yes.
So it's a matter of, like, when I talk to, like, my stakeholder, it's like, my job is to keep your client happy or to keep your boss off your back. And once they hear that, they're like, okay, game on. You're on the team. You're on the team. Let's do this. And I'm like, all right, let's do it.
How much do you charge? How do you know what your value is, as you said earlier?
Oh, gosh. I would say if you're first starting out, you can map out how much time it takes you to do your show or how long it is, right? I would say most content creators don't take the time to really measure how much time and effort they're putting in their work, right?
Yep.
I would say bare minimum, make sure that you're making more than minimum wage, right? Like, let's just put that out there. Because some people are like, oh, I have this amazing brand that I'm working with. And then when they look at the hours, they're like, I was barely making minimum wage, right? As far as like where to start, okay, I'm in San Diego, which is in California, and let's say you're a content creator. The average salary for a social media manager at an agency is about $55K, as far as up to $65K. When you are a strategist, I'm thinking in salaries. When you're a strategist, you could go anywhere from $80,000 to $100,000K. So if you are like at a strategist level working with the client, you work backwards, think of like what your hourly rate is for that and how long it's going to take for you to work on this project. Because some projects may just be like, no, we just want you to be the talent, right?
Yeah.
And you could do that. But some of them are like, no, I want you to be a strategic partner, which is what you want. At least that's what I want, right?
Yeah.
I want to have a say as far as how we're going to repurpose the content, how we're going to optimize it for SEO, all of that stuff. Again, things that I've learned having been on the agency side.
Yeah.
So how much you ask for, I would say, like, honestly, like, Luria, I was at the point where I was like, I will not accept anything. When I first started out, I will not accept anything that's lower than $100 an hour, because then it's not worth my time, right?
Right.
And then it goes up.
Yep.
And then it goes up. And then your mindset transitions, right, Luria, from hourly to project-based.
Yeah.
Right? And then project-based is really where you could do a blended rate, because, again, this is from the agency background. You could do a blended rate where it's like, if someone on my team is just posting content, that they're now acting as the role as a VA. And so the hourly rate for a VA is very different from a social media manager hourly rate versus a strategist versus a director. So when I'm putting together my budget, I'm putting down the hours and I'm saying which role is executing that piece. And then that's the whole budget. It's never like, oh, it's going to be $300 an hour for every single task, right? It's like, for you to post on social, like a tweet, that's not $300. Like,
right.
What? Yeah.
And from my perspective, when I am looking at what to charge, I'm looking at my overall expenses, right? And what is my extra effort in terms of doing this project worth it, right?
Yes.
Is it going to help me pay somebody on my team more? Is it going to help me hire somebody new that I need? Is it going to help me grow the business? And if it's not really worth it. It could be. Let me clarify. There are other benefits other than revenue.
Yes.
And sometimes I will do partnerships that do not build in that revenue for other benefits. And so you have to know what those are for you. What about you, Stephanie?
Yeah, no, I love that you mentioned that, because some of them will, when you know like what assets you have to offer, right? So it doesn't have to be $1 revenue, but maybe you could grow your email list, right?
Yes.
Maybe you could take over their YouTube channel once a month. Like, that's like, woo!
Yeah.
That gives you access, right? So I think there's always going to be a balance between revenue and access.
Yes.
Because if this access can be like a stepping stone to another relationship, to another brand, or it fills in that gap that you don't have under like your portfolio as far as like testimonials and niches, right? But you use that as a stepping stone. Like, I'm going to do this once for free. But you have to put guardrails around it, right,
Yes.
Luria? Because you're like, this is how many
Boundaries.
hours. Yeah, boundaries. This is how many hours I have for the paid stuff that I have to do. And then for the non-paid, non-billable items, for growing the business and all that stuff, I can only dedicate X hours a month towards that.
Yeah.
And then that's what you say in your partnership. It's like, this sounds really fun. Would be absolutely happy to speak at your virtual summit, but I only have 5 hours to spare. That's it, right?
Yeah.
It's not 10 hours. I'm going to show up on like special private Q&As and
Yeah.
do 10 million emails for you. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's hard. At the beginning, you do more for free, right? If you're just building your audience, you are naturally going to do more for less. And that's okay to start, but you have to go into it with a mindset of that business mentality and not allowing people to take advantage of you.
Yes.
But yeah, so I mean, you grow, like as Stephanie was saying, you start with one number, and then you expand that, and then you expand that, and then you expand that as your audience and as your team and as everything else around you grows. I think the most important thing that we've been talking about here, and it's one of the reasons that I love Stephanie, is that there are a lot of people in the marketing space that are very short-term focused and just like, boom, like, okay, there's this thing and I'm just going to do it and get everything I can out of it right here and now. But what I love about you, Stephanie, is how long-term thinking you are. I don't know if that's the right phrasing.
It is. Yeah. No.
But yeah.
And I love that you pick up on that, right?
Yeah.
Because my number one value in the context of my career is freedom, flexibility, and legacy. Any project that gives me freedom, flexibility, and the opportunity to create a legacy that I can build on and possibly pass on to my daughter, I'm going to be all for that, right?
Yes.
I'm going to be all for that. Short-term stuff, that's nice to do, but like I said, October, wait, we're in November. In November, I already have my 2021 planned out of like when I go on vacations, when I'm celebrating birthdays, when I have anniversaries, right? And I've already slotted those out because those are my values.
Yeah.
And that's when, like you said, when I'm thinking long term, like, okay, I would love to work with you. This is where I'm going to slot you in because those are my non-negotiables.
Yeah.
And I think when you know that, that's when your brand and your clients are like, oh, you're serious. Because they know when it's game time, it is game time. You have like my undivided attention and like we're ready to go.
Yeah. And knowing that value and knowing kind of what you want is going to dive into some, or going to lead into some of the questions that we have. We're going to tackle those here in just a few minutes, but first an exercise for you all. Given what Stephanie just talked about and what we were talking about with a long-term goal or long-term thinking, I want you all right now, get your typing fingers on the keyboard, type in, are you doing it too? I will approach brands with a long-term strategy.
Yes.
Type that or something around that. I will be long-term thinking. I will think long-term. That's what I want you to type. I will think long-term. I have to think on the fly better.
Yeah.
But yeah, like take that action and commitment.
Take that action, take that commitment. Like I'm telling you, I have my calendar 2021. I know when my anniversaries are. I know when birthdays are. I have no regrets. I know that if I'm going to have a very revenue healthy Q1, Q2, I'm going to give myself a break in Q3 because mindset is everything. And you have to slot that in.
Yes.
Because a lot of people will just be like, keep chasing, keep hustling. And you know, I've got that hustle, but I've got that heart too, because I plan on being here for a very, very long time.
Yes, exactly. You guys, we're gonna answer all your questions. If you do have further questions, go ahead and put a Q in front of your question. We've been talking about ECAMM and how that's what we are using, and how we're both brand ambassadors for ECAMM. And you guys, whoa, that was a screwed up production right there. That was my fault. You guys can get your own free trial at livestreamingpros.com/eCamm, as well as a free training course if you want professional live streams like you've been seeing us do here with interviews. And yes, she is coming in via the ECAMM system, the interview system. And I saw somebody say earlier how great quality it is. That's thanks to ECAMM.
Yeah, the ECAMM. I remember the very first time that I discovered them. Like I said, I was on IKEA. I was on OBS, which is the IKEA live streaming, right?
IKEA?
I was on IKEA live streaming. IKEA has their own live streaming platform called.
Wow. Let's use that.
No, just kidding. But yeah, once I discovered ECAMM and I saw Leslie Samuel's, reaction video to it,
Yes.
I was all about. I've never
That's
looked
hilarious.
back. Yeah.
Now, Stephanie, along with Mike Alton, who's in the comments, and some other co-hosts or co-authors, have their book that came out, the social media
Ultimate Guide to Social Media Marketing.
Thank you.
Yes. It's okay. We've talked about
Bad host.
a lot.
Bad host. Tell us about the book and where they can get it.
Absolutely. So if you want to scale your business by leveraging social media, then get the Ultimate Guide to Social Media Marketing. We are published by entrepreneurs, so it's rock solid. The best place to check it out would be at socialmediabook.shop. It's also available at all bookseller retailers online. You can even find us on Amazon. If you do get it, take a photo and send it to me, because I will do my own TikTok reaction video.
Ooh, I love it. And you can find that link right there. I always point the wrong direction. Never gonna get that. My Happy Insides is asking, do you recommend connecting with companies that have already embraced live video, or those who haven't but would benefit?
I would say both. I would say you probably might get further down the runway with those that have already embraced live video, right? Sometimes if you really want to get super savvy with this, look at content creators that are already sponsored.
Yeah.
Right? And just be like, hey, I noticed that you're working with this particular person. If you ever want to go down this particular niche, that's where I'm at. And that's where they're like, oh, I didn't think about that. I think one of the things you could also do, Luria, is if you want to be a strategic partner, always give ideas to your potential clients or your current clients. Be like, hey, did you know that Facebook just rolled out Facebook Live Shopping? What if we try this? What if we do that? Oh, hey, did you see this recent report by Uscreen about all these live streaming statistics? Thought you might like this. Then they're like, wow, you just make my job easier. And it's like, of course I do. Well, now you have my number. You could call me on speed dial whenever you need a brand partnership. And it's beautiful.
I love it. Quickly, Anthony says, covering costs sucks. Can you talk about the pitfalls of a poor self-esteem when pricing? Oh, so good.
Poor self-esteem and pricing is really, more often than not, those that are not confident in their pricing get taken advantage of, or they learn the hard way that, oh gosh, I should have asked for more. And I think this is one of those things too, Luria, right? Where it's like, confidence is everything. Confidence is one size fits all, because not only when you become confident on camera, you become confident in all aspects of your life. And this is why Luria and I talk a lot about mindset, right? It's having the mindset of a business, not busyness, right? And being confident in what it is that you have to offer, and knowing that you don't always need external validation of how good you are. Can I just say that again? You don't always need external validation of how good you are, the likes, the comments, but you knowing what your self-worth is, that I would say is the most important thing to have. Because then you could walk into that meeting like, I got this.
Yeah, and sometimes that comes with getting taken advantage of first. unfortunately, is the reality of life. But what Stephanie was talking about earlier with the, what did you call them? The pain in the
Oh, PETA.
the PETA clients or the PETA brands. When you don't value yourself, that's when you get caught up in PETA brands that are a pain in the blank. So just understand that goes hand in hand, really. And you most likely, if you don't value yourself and your worth, will wind up in a situation where you are resentful, where you hate working with them. And then maybe you're under contract and you just have to stick it out. I've been there. I get it. So it's not fun. So if you're like, don't, like people were saying in the comments earlier, like say what you think you're worth and charge 25% more or something.
Oh, yeah.
Charge more.
Oh, for sure.
Add
my
tax,
gosh.
as Stephanie was saying.
Know your value and add tax. Like it was so funny because one of my clients, she's a YouTube content creator, and she's like, hey, I'm gonna go into this pitch meeting and I'm thinking of charging this. And I was like, oh, I think you should do this. And it was like so much more. And she's like, really? I'm like, yes. And say it in alignment. Be congruent when you say it, right?
Yeah.
Like, don't be like, huh, yeah, how about? It's like, this is package A. This is how much that is. B and C, right?
Yeah.
When you're delivering what the pricing structure is, you're saying it as a statement. Notice that when I'm saying it as a statement, my voice actually kind of goes down. So for package A, you're looking at $33.95. Whereas some people who are just starting are like, you know, it's actually $3,395. You know, it's like, what? Where did your voice go? What the hell? What the hell just happened? Did I just get possessed? You know,
It's so true.
like, because then if you lack confidence like in your pricing, they're gonna you've automatically like deducted points from like Hufflepuff. You're like 10 points taken away from Gryffindor. You're like, go in there strong. So yeah, if you know that pricing is an issue for you, work on that. That's a money block thing, you know?
So a lot of these things that we deal with in business are personal issues and mindset issues and limiting beliefs. And that's something that you've got to work on outside of your business as well, so that you can fix that internal stuff so that you can be better, do better, live a better life. And again, like I was talking about this with my audience. Do you have a few more minutes to just keep going?
Oh my God, I could geek out with you all day.
Okay, I know we're past the hour and I'm like just totally taking over her time. But I was talking with my audience yesterday about this, and the key to realizing how much, not how much you're worth, but that you are worth money, is that you have a purpose in life, right? Like, I know my purpose in life, and not everybody does, but you do. Like, you are unique, and there is something about you that people respond to. Not everybody in the world, but people. And there are a section of people that need to hear what you have to say in only the way that you can say that. And if you can impact the people around you and that you're speaking to, that's great, right? Maybe that's 5 people, maybe that's 500 people. But the moment you start making more money, you are able to impact more people. You are able to scale and grow and have a bigger impact. So when you think about money and your value, you have to be okay with making money so that you can have that bigger impact and that bigger reach. It's not about making money. It's about who you're affecting and how much more you're able to do for other people.
Yes. It's how, remember when we talked about revenue and access, right?
Yeah.
When you put them together, that's wealth.
Yes.
And wealth gives you access. And that, I mean, that's another thing in my values level. It's freedom, flexibility, legacy, wealth, It's just, okay, got it. Building that empire for sure.
Andre had a quick super chat question. Thank you, Andre. Any ideas on how to grow a content channel that produces news stories and content for other streamers?
Oh, How to grow it?
How to
like
grow your
subscribers and
audience?
viewers?
I think that's what they mean. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that could go a lot of ways. This is a conversation that I
This
had
is
with
a
someone.
bigger question. Yeah.
Yeah, this is where I was saying, you can always talk about yourself as like, oh, I'm so awesome. This is what I do. But I feel like when you share the mic and the money with other live streamers, then they're going to give an opportunity to promote you, right?
Yeah.
So I think if you're trying to promote a channel that's news for other live streamers, shine a spotlight on your audience.
Yes.
Right? Bring them on board and be like, hey, what are you struggling with? And then feature content around them, because when they know that you're there to support them, right? Not only just throw facts at them and give them helpful guides, but you're also there to share the spotlight, then I think they're going to share that content with you.
Yes. Well said. Well said. One more question from Oscar. What are 3 red flags about brands to avoid?
Ooh.
You talked a little bit about it earlier.
Yeah, the first one is definitely if they don't want to respect your late payment fees. The second is if you've heard around the block, if they don't pay. I'm really stuck on the money piece. And then the third one is if they're just disorganized. I had a brand that reached out to me like on a Saturday and was like, we would love for you to be on our show on Tuesday. Can you let me know within the next hour? And I was like, who are you? You know?
Yes.
Like, what the what? Piss poor planning on your part does not constitute an emergency on mine. Learned that from my commander, who is a Navy SEAL. But yeah, it's knowing which brands actually have a process and they respect and value you as a content creator, that you're not just someone that's just going to churn content just to churn content because they said so.
Yeah. And I would add to that passion when I have that conversation with them. If they are a brand I'm starting a relationship with now, they were so passionate on the phone. Like, I was like, wow, like you really care about your job. You really care about what you're doing. And that's pretty darn cool. So I think that that's also something to pay attention to, because not everybody is going to exude passion, but you can tell the difference between somebody who believes in their company and somebody who is just like a worker bee, right?
Yeah, they're just like, this is on my list for today and I have to check it off, so I have to take this call. Whereas someone's like, I'm so excited because I get to work with you.
Yeah.
Notice that conscious use of language of like, oh, I have to, versus, I get to be on a show and learn.
You're silly. Yeah, and I think, I'm always approaching, I don't think I said this earlier, I'm always approaching these relationships with like, okay, I'll commit to these things, but I'm really in it for the long haul, which we've talked about that, but I'm in it, I'm going to give you a lot more than what you asked for or what we've committed to. And when somebody's just a worker bee and just like have to do this, you're not going to be able to have that kind of relationship that's long term. So it's just that's one of my big pitfalls for somebody.
Yeah, package your whole entire experience. I mean, that's one of the things where most people, when they meet me, they're like, oh, she's the host of Lights Camera Live. Awesome. It's like, yeah, but also backed by a decade of ad agency experience. So when we create content together, I could give you a Google Ads strategy behind it. We could talk about Facebook advertising. We could talk about LinkedIn and all this other stuff. And they're like, oh, you're like a built-in Swiss Army knife when it comes to creating content. I'm like, well, yes, I am. Yes, I am. And that's what you pay for,
Yeah. Yeah. And you guys can watch Lights Camera Live at facebook.com.
Hey, Stephanie Lou.
Hey Stephanie Lou. Facebook.com/Hey Stephanie Lou. Her name is spelled right there. I'm gonna get the pointy down one of these days. I've been doing this for 15 years. I still don't have it down. So, are you petting me?
Because you're like pointing so aggressively at me. That's such a mean point.
Oh wow. I'm so sorry. She does a fantastic job with her live shows, so I'd encourage you to pay attention to her. And of course, her book is out now and will help you tailor the social media efforts and marketing strategy to your own business. And so many people bought it while we were live today. I saw comment after comment after comment coming through like, bought it, bought it. So if you bought it, definitely take a picture and post it on social and tag Stephanie so that she can hang out with you and get to know you. And Stephanie, dude, you are amazing.
I always love talking to you. This is one of those things where I'm like, Katie, me and Luria, like the three of us, we need to do something because this is fire. This is good. Like you guys, right? Like I feel like the questions that you ask, Luria, are good questions. You know, like questions that most people don't generally ask. No, girl, stop. Girl,
joking.
Stop. Luria, you are the greatest interviewer.
I am an Enneagram 3. I am achiever. I have to do more. Be better. Be bigger.
You are the best of the best. But I love the questions that you asked today because those are questions that most people don't ask. And we got like really, really deep into the details. Did. And that's not something that you often hear on a live show. So kudos to you for just like, we're going to give you the real talk, you know, not like,
well, thank you
whatever.
doing it and digging in with me. I know that it was super valuable to everybody. They really appreciated it. And you guys definitely follow Stephanie. We are going to put our dancing shoes on and dance this baby out because we don't end a show any other way. You guys know this. Overachievers unite. I'm right there. So everyone, put your dancing shoes on. We're going to dance this out. We're going to have a little bit of fun. Take that time to absorb the knowledge. Rewatch this video over and over if you have to get all of the details that Stephanie provided today. Thank you so much. I appreciate you. All right. You ready? Rock and roll?
I'm ready.
All right. Uh-oh, where's my button? I lost my button. Hold on. There it is. Let's do it.